And let me quickly introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Patricia Cadet, and I'm a Product Ops Manager here at OutSystems. More specifically, in my team, I'm the one that is kicking off what we call the B2B Product Academy. Yep, an internal academy that really aims to upskill our product managers with proper training. This is something that I'm quite excited about. And I am also doing events like these ones, making sure that our product management group voice it's out there, and that we are sharing with you our insights, the things that we are learning during our process with the community. Because, well, if we don't share our main insights, what are we doing, right? So, and with this, I want to welcome to our second Product Ops Unwrapped talk. This is an initiative that we here at OutSystems are kicking off. And for those who don't know what is OutSystems, OutSystems is a modern application platform for building applications fast, right, and for the future. We are basically empower organizations throughout the world to really deliver innovative software, really easy and painless, okay? Our Product Ops team is in this journey of sharing with the community things that we are learning from the past year, things that we have been discovering, because Product Ops is a new area, a new function. So there's a lot of things that we could been sharing, and that's what we have been doing here, and we'll continue to do here. So feel free to also share your pains, your challenges, your also your wins, because that's all about what we are doing here. And today, a quick disclaimer about our speakers. We have Manuel Pereira and Tiago Leão. Manuel Pereira will be joining us only on Q&A because unfortunately he's not able to be here and speaking with his beautiful voice. So you will hear directly from Tiago Leão. Both Tiago and Manuel are Product Ops managers, as I am here at OutSystems. Tiago joined OutSystems almost 10 years ago, so he's a veteran here at OutSystems. He joined straight from the University Nova School of Science and Technology, and he's been kind of a globetrotter inside our product organization. He started in R&D as a developer, and then changed to product owner, later product manager, and then he was kidnapped by Annabella, our director of product operations, and he has been a product ops manager ever since. And Tiago has a role just like Manuel in communications inside our product management team. So he'll be sharing the journey, what he has been doing with all of you, right, Tiago?
Yeah, it's exactly it. So thank you thank you everyone for being here with us. So first things first, I hope you are all well and safe, and thank you for spending some time on hearing us, sharing with you all our challenges and the approaches to improve our product communication. I will try to do my best impersonation of Manuel, but we never know what will happen. So let's start. And let me start with the fact that we all live in a perfect world, right? Okay, probably not. So in a perfect world, everyone in our organization would speak the same language and know exactly how and where to get information they need. But as you probably know, reality sometimes can be very different. And that's why communicate effectively is something really hard to do. We, as product operations managers, have a crucial role in that, getting people talking and speaking the same language. We empower our key stakeholders in all matters regarding what's happening in the product management. It can be by knowing exactly what is going on, what session to attend, or where to get the right information from. In fact, the communication topic inside OutSystems is so important to us, to our culture, that is part of our set of big rules. For the ones that don't know, OutSystems have a set of rules that all OutSystems employees are introduced since day one through what we call the small book of the few big rules. It is public and it can be downloaded in our website for free. Just type OutSystems, the small book, and you will find it there. Now, paraphrasing what is written in the book, communication, it's all about what the others understand from your talk, from your presentation, or from what you write in a page available to the whole company, for instance. At all time, it is important to be straightforward and clear in the message that you want to convey to your audience. And that is only possible if you are able to put yourself in their shoes. The same message can, and in fact should be, passed differently based on the target audience. For instance, you should not talk the same way to your engineering teams as you talk to the sales part of your organization. There are numerous ways to communicate inside the company, and we all faced some challenges along the way. And that's why I want to hear from you. So it's time for a quick interaction time. So before we dive into the remaining of the presentation, we really want to understand if the kind of challenges that we faced resonate with yours. Or, for instance, if we were an exception, and that's completely fine as well. So the question is, what are your top challenges in communication with other areas of your company? Feel free to write your answers in Slido openly. It's perfectly normal that you add more than one challenge, so feel free to write them all. Let's see. Now people can go to the Slido. I believe that Patricia already shared the link in the chat to be easy to access it.
People also can scan the code, the QR code with the camera phone. It's quite easy.
Being remote, it feels like no one is on the same page. Very interesting challenges indeed. Sharing the right level of detail.
Can I share also the challenges in my company?
How could I say no to my boss? Go ahead.
Oh, it's true. You will share them for me. Okay, so I will still quiet.
Consider product as a supplier. Yeah. Oh, many stakeholders, right? Giving the right amount of information, corroborating feedback. Oh, that's amazing. Talk the same language and drive action from them. Great one. All right. Empowering support team to handle bug priority process. That's a very detailed one. Interesting. Engineering, collected structures. So many tools, right? Too many initiatives at the same time. We never heard about that. It's always simple to understand what to build next, right? So Patricia, how much time do you want to stay here?
I think we have almost 60 people on the call. We have 20 here, maybe just one more minute for people to scan the QR codes, just put the slide.
Don't want another meeting. I love this one.
But email updates can get lost in the noise. How many times we have heard that? Yeah.
Never happened. Okay. So these were very interesting challenges, indeed, and I can for sure relate with the majority, if not all of them. So thank you very much for your participation. +1 on people don't want meetings. +2. So on a personal note, I really like this kind of engagement from the audience in the sessions that I held. So thank you so much for your participation. So some of the challenges that you shared with us were pretty similar to the ones that we will share with you. So let me tell you first, how did we find those challenges? So basically, we went on a discovery phase. In just 1 month, we interviewed 60 stakeholders and collected more than 70 pieces of feedback. And to be honest with you, I completely remember phrases like PM doesn't hear us. And on the other side, we had our PM members saying things like, hey, Tiago, I never knew what are the important events to attend next week. And we continue doing this on a regular basis and continue collect the feedback from our stakeholders. So we basically grouped the feedback and ended up on defining the top challenges that we wanted to tackle first. So the first one, I believe, is you are very familiar with that, right? So many ways of interaction, many tools, unclear when to use one and another. This is in fact something that hinders the productivity of a group, no doubt about it. Other one was that product management team was not listening to the feedback and only communicate decisions. Although we knew that wasn't exactly true, if that was the feeling of some of our stakeholders, we definitely needed to improve how PM communicate with different areas of the company. Here, the communication includes not only pass the right information with the rationals, but also listen to the others and include the feedback in the decision-making process of what we should build next. Basically, close the loop. Last but not least, it seems that there were always missing some piece of information about the product. Things like, what are the programs that we were running? What is in the pipeline to be built next? Or how will a given capability help in my work as a customer or as a salesperson inside OutSystems? So we really needed to work to ensure the completeness of the message. So basically, these were our top challenges regarding communication that we decided to face first and aim to solve in the first quarters after the creation of the Product Ops team at OutSystems. So these challenges get a bigger dimension when we look into the amount of stakeholders that we Product Ops team inside product management area have to interact and help, PM team to interact with. When we looked around, we had more than 20 groups of stakeholders to interact with, and that represents almost pretty much the entire company. Some of you have probably a very similar reality, and I can relate with some of the comments that you put on the slide. And do not forget, on top of this, everyone is moving to a full remote way of work, something that already existed, but now got a completely different dimension. This created even more stress on top of the previous challenges due to the distance or the working hours, for instance. And I believe someone mentioned that as a challenge also in the slide. So let us share how we solve these challenges. Keep in mind one thing. This thing seems to be working for us, but it doesn't mean that it will work in the same way for you. However, it can probably be a good starting point for you to adapt to your reality. Basically, we started with a plan that was to define an end-to-end stakeholder engagement process. Okay, what does it mean, Tiago? Basically, it means define types of stakeholders, align levels of engagement with them, and fundamentally create, enforce, and moderate inbound and outbound communication with them. So let's deep dive into what we did inside OutSystems. As you might imagine, the first thing that we did was identify and group our stakeholders. The most obvious ones were the product management team. Our product managers responsible for our product vision and strategy for different areas of the product. Besides PM, we have the customers, of course. That is a group that includes not only paying customers, but also individual members of our community. Some of them are even considered our OutSystems MVPs. That includes developers or architect leads, or even OutSystems ambassadors, more senior people like IT decision makers and line of business leads. We also have what we call our field teams, the ones that interact in a daily basis with our customers or prospects. They go from technical ones like solution architects or technical success managers to more business-oriented ones like customer success managers and salespersons. Of course, we have the engineering that includes everyone related to the development of the product. UXers, developers, architects, and even our team responsible for the technical communication is inside this engineering group. To close the square, we have what we call the extended product teams. This includes teams like our marketing team, pricing team, competitive intel, support teams, and even legal. So although it's important to have face-to-face time with all teams, it's important to ensure that we only flow the right amount of information to them at the right times. For example, when we talk to our legal team, we should not talk about everything, and we should only highlight the things that they need to consider and review. On the other hand, when we talk with our engineering teams, we can speak about how a given capability can be an opportunity to revamp the architecture of the product that we expose to the outside world. For salesperson, we can talk about all that new shiny thing, the 3 milliseconds faster API, but at the end of the day, they all want to hear, and in fact need enablement on, is on how this new capability will allow them to sell more and help customers achieve their business goals. So, different stakeholders, different needs, different interactions. Having your stakeholders defined, it was time to define not only how and with what frequency we interact with them, but also align the goals of each section. Basically, the worst thing that can happen in a meeting is having attendees that do not know what they are doing there and what is exactly expected from them. That's why we define 2 different meeting purposes with different cadences. We have the inbound sessions, where the goal is to collect field and facts from our stakeholders and give them the opportunity to influence and challenge our vision and strategy. Here is where we have those tough but very important conversations around why we are not investing on this when I have indicators pointing on that direction. On the other side, we have the outbound interactions. And here is where we go first and share information with our stakeholders. Some of that information can in fact be our answers to some of the insights provided in the inbound sessions. Actually, this kind of division facilitates us, Product Ops Group, to organize ourselves around this. Manuel, for instance, is our go-to person for the inbound part of the PM communication process, and I'm more focused on the outbound. Drilling down on some examples of these interactions, so let's start with inbound communication one. In terms of inbound communication, we align on different levels depending on stakeholders, and we rely on tooling to manage asynchronous communications between field and product. We will talk a bit more about our synchronous communication later. Sorry? Okay. We will talk about our synchronous communication later, but the first of our regular sessions are simple checkpoints with each of our field teams to basically monitor our adoption and overall satisfaction with the inbound communication with product teams. These are done quarterly, and we use it to continuously improve our process. We also use these sessions as moments where our stakeholders can directly influence our mid to long-term roadmap. There are 2 kinds of sessions here. A quarterly, more forward-looking session where stakeholders present key aspects and trends that they are seeing, things like trends emerging in our customer base, for instance. And this can help us inform our priorities and make sure our roadmap remains close to the market and to the customer needs. Another is a monthly session where we discuss more day-to-day updates that might not form a trend, but should not fall under the cracks, like a new release of a competitor, for instance. Now, looking into the outbound interactions, they can also serve to talk about very distant things as well. So sometimes we use it to talk about roadmap updates, and that's usually something that we do basically once per quarter. Or we might use these sessions to have open discussions. And here, let me share with you two different strategies that I personally use to have these open discussions. One, prior to the sessions, like for instance, 1 week before, collect questions, topics of interest, concerns from our focal points in the field. Then we work with our PM teams to have there in the session, the PM responsible to answer the question and discuss it live. Another one that I use is not a meeting, but a session called Ask Me Anything with our product management team, but it's run through Slack. Actually, we started doing this with our MVPs and also with our ambassadors, and it went pretty well. A lot of topics were covered in just 30 minutes window, where we had online our PM team commenting live the topics raised by our customers. We found that this not only creates transparency and alignment between parties, but also promote engagement between them. Last, we also take advantage of this predefined cadence to proactive go to the field and fill in some knowledge gaps that we found. Normally, those topics come from the ones that we collect as insights from our field teams. Now, this was all about interactions that we plan to happen. But there is also communications that are unplanned. And this asynchronous communication topic is fundamental nowadays in a full remote working environment. And especially in a company like OutSystems in a hyper-growth phase, where we are basically onboarding people every week. Zoom fatigue is a syndrome that you might have heard already, and is mainly caused by the amount of meetings that you have. Like we said previously, face-to-face meetings are important, but we need to dose them and complement with processes and tools that allow PM and stakeholders to collaborate in a synchronous way. What we did about this. So first, we started to define, and most important, to write our processes in Confluence pages available to everyone. This way, they can be easily shared and recalled at all times. This also gives the opportunity to everyone to go there and comment and suggest improvements to those processes. After doing that, and be clear to us what kind of processes do we want to put in place, we went on a research for the best tool to support those processes. In our case, we basically are heavily using Product Board to support some of those use cases. It's the tool for the PM team. It's our single source of truth for the product-related topics. Product Board allows us to support 3 important use cases. 1, collect product insights from the field and associate them to the product. 2, have an easy and clear prioritization process about what to build next. And 3, share visual roadmaps with our stakeholders. Find the perfect tool for you is a must in this process. Last but not least, we ensure that relevant information for the stakeholders is always available in internal knowledge base pages, with some of them being even powered by some of the tools that I previously mentioned, like Confluence and Product Board. Now, An important aspect that is sometimes overlooked when we talk about communication is to measure your communication interactions. Those interactions can be meetings or other kind of events like those product Ask Me Anything sessions done through channels like Slack that I spoke previously. Here you can see the last internal results from our product management communication. We started a little bit in the dark without any data points, but with qualitative feedback that we needed to improve. Now we are with a pretty good satisfaction score about the sessions, and this numbers includes dozens of interactions, inbound and outbound, and we are extremely focused on always respecting the cadence of the sessions. We really believe that by doing it, it will contribute to the trust between all parties. So we basically build the process, we have it running, and it has a good CSAT score so far. So why change? Why iterate? Well, as you probably know, not everything is numbers, and that's why we are not robots, right? So pay attention to the feedback, especially the written one. Iterate and promote innovation. Avoid the tiredness of the interactions and basically the monotony of those interactions. If you always collect qualitative feedback from your interactions, I'm 100% sure that you will be able to identify trends and anticipate the next things to improve. So, wrapping up with some key takeaways that I would like you to take from this session before we go to the Q&A part. So, first, before doing anything, research. Know your challenges. The worst thing that can happen to a product operations team is ending up months of work understanding that they tackled the wrong problem. Collect the challenges, share those challenges with your stakeholders, and basically ensure that they are aligned, that those are the most important things to solve. Define a plan and stay true to it. Ensure that your product team and stakeholders are well informed about the communication cadence and format, and basically go ahead and execute it. Advertisers have been used and abused of this concept of repetition since forever. More customers see and the more customers hear something, the more they remember it. The same logic is applied in our case. However, don't get too attached to it. That's why it's so important to measure, collect feedback, and iterate. Keep on doing it and do not give up from the outcomes that you want to achieve just because the first 2 or 3 times that you tried weren't successful. And even if everything looks okay, like for instance, the CSAT score that I previously mentioned and showed, dig into the feedback. And you will always find and be able to anticipate some of your challenges. Remember one thing, it's easy to deal with small prizes than with the big ones. So this was basically what I wanted to share with you. It's a pity that Manuel wasn't able to be here and you were able to hear from him as well about our experience in OutSystems and basically how we are creating communications bridges across the company. So we will continue our series of Product Ops Unwrapped sessions. So stay tuned for news from Patricia. So thank you very much for your time and for your participation. And now I believe it's time for some Q&A, right, Patricia?
Yep, and we already have like 10 questions there. So...
10 questions. All right, always from the anonymous. I love the anonymous ones.
I don't think we have a name there. So people are shy, don't.
Yeah, I also don't like. I'm not a fan of Slido UX on this. It's very hidden where you put your name.
By the way,
So,
Tiago, a question from me: do you use Slido on your sessions with stakeholders?
Yeah. Basically, I use Slido to two things. One, exactly this that we are showing here and using here to collect answers. Questions before and during the session, and at the end have a poll to collect the CSAT score to ending up on those results and be able to understand if what we are showing to the audience and to that particular stakeholder is helping him in their daily job. So yeah, I use it a lot.
By the way, while we were saying that we only have anonymous questions, Ugu.
No problem.
Ugu dropped the questions. Ugu, thank you for dropping the question with your name. So we know that you exist. Yeah. So.
Could you talk more why your chances knowledge base is on other tools and not on Confluence? Okay, that's a great question. I will start with the first one. So could you talk more about why your knowledge base is in another tool and not on Confluence? So thanks for the question. So basically, we aim to have everything in the Confluence. We are still in the rolling out phase of the tool to the whole company, but we are starting doing that. So basically everything around the product, engineering, in our technical knowledge team, all basically information about how we operate, the processes, and the team's composition and so on. It's basically everything. It's already in Confluence, but we will for sure scale the tool to be accessible to everyone inside the company. So that is the goal. Until then, we rely on other tools to be able to share the same amount of information and the same information to everyone inside the company. So Patricia, do you want me to pick the questions, or do you want to be the one picking?
No, you can go one by one. I think we have enough time, so you just go and solve it and just go to the next one. Manuel can also.
Yeah. I first of all, I would like to apologize for not being able to help Tiago during the speaking part of the session. Unfortunately, I'm still recovering from COVID, and my capacity to speak for large periods of time is a bit compromised. So if I do some pauses in between sentences, then now you know. Well, it's first of all, English is not my native language, but on top of that, I have this small problem that I'm still dealing with. But yeah, for sure, I will help Tiago answering questions as well. I think, top question is, can you share some KPIs used to measure the success of Product Ops? I think Tiago already mentioned how we're measuring the success of our sessions, right? So we use surveys at the end of each session to determine the satisfaction of the participants. Fortunately, we've been getting what we believe are some good numbers. Obviously, always room to improve, but we're steadily improving the satisfaction of participants as time goes by. So that's good. On a more general level, and this was something that I don't know that I believe Annabella mentioned in the first session of our Product Ops Unwrapped, which is our operating model as a team. And Tiago mentioned this in the beginning as well, is we start by listing problems and speaking with people from inside the organization and stakeholders, understanding what their problems are, and then trying to fix those problems. And what we do is we then go to those stakeholders and try to understand if the problem was mitigated or not. So what we're doing is continuously gathering feedback from around the organization on problems related to product ops and the product management practice inside OutSystems. We're prioritizing problems, and then we're going to those stakeholders again and seeing if those problems have been fixed. And so far, we've had a fair degree of success doing that. So that's one of the main things we do to measure success, is list the problems and then see with the stakeholders if those problems have been dealt with or not. Speaking of which, so go ahead. Yeah.
No, basically, I just want to add one more thing on top of that. So one of our mission is also to understand the level of impact that we as product operations can have in the product strategy as a whole. So currently, and to be very transparent with all of you, we are in a motion to better deploy the strategy across the company. And actually, one KPI that we have, it's the level of clearness about how we communicate that strategy to the other areas of the company. And that is also done by a questionnaire after the session, where we ask how clear was our product vision and strategy to in that case, to our stakeholders. Manuel, do you want to?
Yeah, I can take this one, the product board. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with product board, but I don't know if anyone from product board is here, but free advertisement then. We chose product board because when we did our search in the market, we felt that this tool very neatly combined 3 distinct use cases that we wanted for our product management team. The first one is the tool allowed us to centralize product feedback, right? So the tool has by default a way to incorporate different teams inside the tool to provide feedback coming from different places. This was very important for us. So it's a tool where anyone can come in and provide a piece of feedback regarding our product. Customer X is requiring this, etc. Then it's a tool that has some flexibility in terms of how we structure our backlog. Our backlog is fairly complex in terms of teams and product areas, etc. And there is a lot of flexibility in the tool to allow us to mold the backlog and organize the backlog as we see fit, in terms of degrees of access to information, etc., etc. And then lastly, it's a tool that has a very straightforward UX, and it's easy to deal with, and visually it's very simple, and it allows us to communicate in a visual manner those backlogs as roadmaps in a very simple way. And once again, as Tiago mentioned, we speak with all sorts of stakeholders, and it allows us to show different types of roadmaps depending on the audience, and that is cool. So we saw that it allowed us to merge 3 distinct use cases in a very seamless way, and so far we're happy with the choice.
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's basically one tool to cover 3, 4, probably more than that use cases, and that was one of our challenges. As you saw, we have a lot of tools to deal with, and if we can centralize in the same tool the majority of the use cases and the work that our PM teams need to do, better. So let me answer. It's already. So what is the question you ask stakeholders to access their satisfaction? So basically, it's not the NPS scoring type of question. It's the CSAT kind of question. So how satisfied were you with this session and the content on it? So it basically allows us to understand if the stakeholder was pleased with the information and the amount of information that we shared on that session. So I believe there was one about the Ask Me Anything session, so I can elaborate on that. So basically, it was an experiment that we run during this quarter, and it went pretty well. So basically, we have two different Slacks workspaces, one for our MVPs and one for our ambassadors. And basically, we went there and called their attention to a 30-minute window predefined in time, where we ensure that we will have there online all of, if not all, the majority of our PM team there for that particular period of time, and they will be there answering all the kind of questions in a transparent way with them. So they can type in numerous questions. There can be technical ones, there can be business ones, there can be even licensing ones, and we are there and answer them. And for the ones that we can cover on those 30 minutes, we'll come back later on the other day and continue with the thread. So it's not a meeting per se, but we have that time locked in advance. We set the sessions in the end of the quarter. We set the sessions and the allocated times in our PM calendar, shared across all PMs, so that they know beforehand and with time that they will need to be available and be online on that to answer and participate in product Ask Me Anything sessions. Manuel, regarding the first one.
Yeah. So the way we collect feedback is generally more qualitative. So we try to have some face-to-face time. So we do interviews. We do understand that this is it's very time consuming, right? Probably not as scalable, but we kind of see it as part of our job in product ops, so to speak, to be able to be there for stakeholders and provide a face for people to express their concerns and make sure that we have enough time for them for their voices to be heard and their problems to be well understood. And this was something that we did. It took us a lot of time, but we did a lot of this in the beginning, and now it's more. Once it's off the ground, it's easier to keep doing this. But yeah, it's more qualitative to answer the.
And here is where product boards take a key role, right?
Yeah, from now on, yeah. I was actually I understood this question as a follow-up on what we were talking about, understanding problems of our stakeholders within the organization. But yeah, for product feedback, for sure, product board is helping us a lot. I also want to take this opportunity because I know, I believe it was the very first question, which is someone was asking about what do we mean exactly with these products, with the field intake checkpoints, these meetings that we had. And basically, as just to answer that question, as Tiago mentioned in the presentation, we have scheduled sessions, but a very, very, very important part of this is the asynchronous communication. So we don't want people in the organization to wait for a time when there is a scheduled session to speak up or to interact with the product management team. we encourage asynchronous proactive communication between the product management team and the various stakeholders. The information around who our product managers are and what areas of the product they are in charge of is readily available to everyone, and we encourage people to reach out through the various channels that we have, Slack, email, etc., to reach out to them and develop one-to-one conversations, etc. And the field intake sessions are nothing more than checkpoints that we have periodically with each of the field teams to understand how the overall communication is going with product management. So inside each team, we have one point of contact, and periodically, around quarterly, I believe, we speak with each of those points of contact to understand how is your team satisfaction when communicating with product management. Is our response time good? Are your problems getting answered, etc.? And try to use those sessions to kind of tweak the process a little bit. So trying to see what's working, what's not working, what changes we can do to improve the process, etc. And so there are basically checkpoints for us to keep our finger on the pulse of how each team is viewing its access and its visibility to product management, and just making sure that we're not leaving anything uncovered.
Okay, so already Mark has answered some of the questions. So here we have the ones that we didn't answer yet. So what are the main tools you are using to communicate with product managers and the remaining of the organization? So first of all, product operations team is inside product management group at OutSystems. So basically, to interact with PMs, we basically use one of our Slack groups. One is dedicated to our team. But for instance, to ensure that our PM team communicate with other areas of the company, and I can give you an example. How do we share the priorities to our engineering team? We rely on product board to do that. So basically, we create a view about the main initiatives ranked that our engineering teams can go understand what those initiatives are, what they want to solve, what is the business case behind it, and basically start prioritizing, do some solution discovery around it. So yeah, that's one. Two examples of tools that we use to communicate. Of course, we use email, we use Google Slides to do this kind of presentations, but those are mainly the ones that we use. Manuel, do you want to explain a little bit the field intake checkpoints?
That was what I was trying to explain in the previous question. If I was not clear,
Okay.
The person who did this can let us know in the chat, and I'll try to explain a little bit better.
So okay, this one's already. How did you go about shortlisting product board as the tool? Okay,
I can take that one as well. It's very simple process. We started by speaking with our product managers. We went around the team to try to understand what were their use cases, right? Then after we had the list, we structured it and prioritized it based on how frequent that concern was within the team and how important it was, what was its impact. We arrived at a list of use cases that we wanted the tool to cover, And then we went to, we went online, we spoke with some people, we searched for the suppliers in the market. We had some conversations, we did some demos, and we settled on the tool that could cover the greatest amounts of use cases on our list. So we spoke with the team, we established a list of priorities, we went to the market with that list ready, and we then compared the demos we had and the conversations we had with the suppliers against the priorities that we had defined beforehand, and Product Board won out pretty much.
Okay, so let me think about this one. Can you talk about some initiative that wasn't working and what did you do? All right, let me think a little bit. Okay, while I think on this, let me just answer the third one here. So your backlog sits in Product Board, not in Jira? No, that isn't true. Basically, our priorities sits on Product Board, and Product Board integrate with Jira so that we set their features, or what we called initiatives, and their value milestones, and they integrate with Jira to be able to be handled by our engineering team. So this was also one of the key elements that took us to choose the Product Board. It's easy to integrate with Jira, something that we already have in-house and use it. So yeah, the backlog it's in Jira. The engineering backlog it's in Jira. What we call the product backlog and its priorities, it sits on top of Product Board.
Tiago, sorry, regarding the initiatives, probably you can share the way we planned our roadmap and our launches before in the past, and now how we do it using Product Board. Regarding the initiatives that they wasn't working, our roadmap prioritization.
Yeah. Basically, it was a very not so user-friendly way of prioritize. We basically use Excel sheets to have their the initiatives, the priorities, do some formulas, and ending up on a list of priorities to pass and communicate and discuss with our stakeholders about what we think that we should do next. And basically with Product Board, that's much more simpler. Basically, we create a set of drivers that guide our product. So are some of rules that we aim. So we set those drivers, and basically the magic happens when we set the level of importance about the contribution of a given initiative to that specific driver. Let me give you an example. We can set an initiative that contributes a lot to the growth part of our mission. So we go basically with the PM responsible for that initiative, go there and set that initiative as a higher impact, with a higher impact score on that particular driver. In this case is the growth one. Did you find the number of meetings harms productivity? Yeah, that is something that I believe everyone is dealing with it in every single company nowadays. Basically, we are trying, of course, reduce the amount of meetings by, like I said, rely on asynchronous communication based on tools, based on documentation. So, for instance, even our own onboarding it's pretty well documented, and instead we have meetings predefined with the set of people inside OutSystems to share and welcome everyone. We reduce the amount of meetings, and there we have in Confluence everything that they need to go and do and guide them through the onboarding. So that is just an example. Patricia, we are already on top of the hour.
Yeah, I know. We have 5 questions. I think we can, it's a bit late, at least in EMEA. Probably we can end it up and give the answers asynchronously. So we can also communicate with our stakeholders in different ways, just like Tiago and Manuel were saying. So different ways to cater information to different stakeholders. So let's send it to you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Tiago and Manuel, for beautifully explaining what is the challenges of OutSystems when it comes up to communicating in product operations. Any last few words, Tiago, Manuel?
The only words that came to my mind is thank you for being here and allow us to share our experiences with all of you. I hope that you can take some insights from our experience, and stay well and safe. It's basically what I want for all of you.
Yeah, same. And if you have questions, feel free to drop us a message on LinkedIn, whatever communication channel you might want to use. And that's it. Thank you so much.